Alright, so first episode, first design diary, and I wanted to start with something which has been a project which has been going on for quite a while, so I can show you a prototype from the get go and so that I can get your thoughts on it from the get go. So, for this first episode, we're going to tackle a game of mine called Mykeria. And Mykeria is sort of a troubled project, as in it was supposed to come out at a point in time. I think that was 2009 or 2010 or something like that. And it didn't because the publisher basically just went broke. And so basically the project was in publishing hell for a few years. Then I got the rights to it back and I approached another publisher with the intent of finally getting the game out. And that publisher resigned last month. They basically changed the person responsible for taking care of projects that they would consider, and with that person leaving the company, the project also left their list of stuff they would be interested in doing. And that's a shame because we've already spent more than a year, almost 2 years actually, working on the project, reworking it, refilling it because they wanted a different theme to it. And so right now the project is again mine. Basically nobody's considering it at the moment, which means that it's a perfect time for me to present the project to you. Alright, so let me show you the game in this quick overview. What we see here is an early version of the game. This is a prototype which was prepared in 2009, and this is the Polish version of the game. The prototype that you'll be getting to test is going to be poorer when it comes to the graphics, but it's going to be pretty much the same when it comes to mechanics. So everything I say here is going to apply to that version of the game. First, let me introduce the player characters, as it were, the gods. We've got 4 gods, and each of these has their own special deck of cards, which are their unique powers. And we've got Namredil, who's the god of passion. His cards are mostly focused around helping himself, basically, just spreading his cult and creating more powerful followers. Then we've got Boguhar, the god of war, and Boguhar is your typical aggressive kind of character. He's going to destroy other people's followers, he's going to get some points for that and that sort of stuff, so he's the aggressive guy. Then we've got Rakeros, and he's the god of luck and fate, a two-faced weirdo. He's kind of like the blue deck in Magic the Gathering. He's this controlling guy who can take other players' cards from them and just spread some chaos around. And finally we've got Seraphara, and she's the goddess of life, and she's good at protecting her own. She's got cards which allow her to not take losses or to get a lot of basic level followers, and that's the selection we've got. Okay, so the basic way that the players interact with the game is by using common cards. And these cards are called common because every god uses them. Every player has access to them, and it's most of the actions that you're going to do are going to have something to do with these common cards. I'm going to talk about those in a minute, but first I wanted to talk to you about what the game's goals are. So what you want to do is you want to gain followers, and followers give you points depending on what level of fate they've got in you. So you can have 3 kinds of followers. You can have novices, acolytes, and priests. So a novice is your basic follower that you can get with many different cards, and that novice is always worth 1 cult point. Now, if you upgrade that novice to an acolyte, he's going to be worthy of 2 points. 2 cult points. And then finally you can upgrade him once again, so upgrading an acolyte to a priest makes that follower worth 4 points. There are also bonus points that you get, and you get them in 3 different instances. If you've got the most acolytes, that's worth an additional 3 points. If you've got the most priests, that's worth an additional 4 points. And if you've got one guy of every kind, so if you've got a novice, an acolyte, and a priest, that's worth additional 5 points. Points are tallied at the end of each turn, and when you end turn, you add the points that you've gotten this turn to the ones you've gotten before. And the game lasts for 5 turns, so you're going to be gaining those points for 5 turns, and you then see who's got the most points, and that person wins. Alright then, those are the basic concepts behind the game, and now I'd like to focus on some examples of the kinds of cards and the kinds of interactions that you can expect from the game. All that you see now is just a snippet of everything that's in the game, but we'll cover that later on. Okay, so the basic thing that you want to do in the game is gain followers, and the basic way of gaining followers is by using a common card, and that common card is called Flourishing Religion. When you use the card, you can take 2 followers from the follower pool and add them to your follower pool as novices. If you manage to keep these novices in your pool until the end of the turn, they are going to be worth 1 cult point each. Another basic way of gaining followers is by using a special action. That special action is something that every player has and can use once per turn, and using that action allows you to take 2 followers from the common follower pool and add them to your pool as novices. The special action can also be used to increase the fate of 2 of your followers, and these can be either novices or acolytes. Increasing their fate makes them worth more points at the end of the turn. Faith can also be decreased, for example by using a common card. In this example we're using the Loss of Fate common card to decrease the fate of our opponent's acolyte, so he becomes a novice again. If used on a novice, this card makes the player discard him instead of decreasing his fate. By using certain common cards, you can remove followers and put them into the removed follower pool. For example, here we use the Small Faith card to remove a novice. At the end of each turn, the removed follower pool is transferred to the active follower pool. Some cards allow you to counter the cards of other players. In this case, a player doesn't want to lose a novice, so he uses the Divine Intervention common card to counter the Small Faith card. The effects of the countered card are not applied. This kind of counter card is rare, so use it only when needed. As mentioned before, each god has his deck of cards, and those cards are very powerful. For example, Boguhar's Bloody Games card allows you to destroy a novice and add 2 novices to your follower pool. You get to choose one of these cards each turn, and you'll be able to use it during that turn only, so choose wisely. And that's the short introduction to Mykeria. I will be introducing more info on the game in my activity feed, and next week I'm going to give you the print and play prototype and the rules. I will also release a video with a sample round of Mykeria, step by step, so you can see how the game is played. Until then, thanks for watching, and I hope you enjoyed this little design diary.